Hi, I'm JimmyNavio. Hello. Is this thing working? It has been a very, very long time, but we're back. We got a podcast. Kind of a last-minute podcast. I think I decided yesterday that I was going to do a podcast this week. I just couldn't go any longer, even though we don't really have anything planned. We're just going to shoot the shit a little bit. Catch up. I honestly haven't talked to James in a while. I've been really busy, so it'll be fun. We'll just kind of catch up, talk about a few things, and maybe get into what my plan is for the future as far as the podcast and everything. We might be making a few changes, so we'll talk about that a bit. But before we do, let's get the business shits out of the way. We are recording this podcast live on twitch.tv/JimmyNavio, Navio. We record them live, we stream them. We got people in chat interacting with us. So if you hear us randomly answer a question, that's why. If you're listening to this out there on, whatever platform it is, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we invite you to come join us. Come hang out. Come experience the live version of the podcast. Also, don't forget, we do have a YouTube channel. The link is down in the description. It's twitch.tv or youtube.com/JimmyNavio. Also, this podcast goes out on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you find your fine podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, hit us up at hitthebucketpodcast@gmail.com. And that's it. So without further ado, I'll bring on my good friend James, and we'll have ourselves a little chat. Hello.
Well, hello there.
Now, first thing I have to point out that I noticed when we were talking before we started, that's not the same room.
Wait a minute, it's not? Hold on.
Where are you?
This past couple weeks. But no, you're right.
Elaborate.
It's a new room.
Where are you?
Let me finish speaking, Jimmy. You're interrupting me. So I'm back in California for the summer, and I've moved into my grandmother's old bedroom.
Nice.
She moved out.
So you got your own room back at home. For those who have been with us for a while on the podcast, you'll remember usually when James goes home to California, he's sharing a room with his brother.
3 brothers.
3 brothers. They're all real close.
Mm-hmm.
So close, we got to hear his brother play Fortnite on various occasions during the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of... What?
It happens.
Well, it's kind of exciting that you have your own room to stream and do... now you just need a green screen. That's like it's like the perfect... Yeah.
Like, looking at it in the camera now, I'm like, there's more than enough space to just put up a screen, like, right here. I would just need, like, a second light to the right of me, and the lighting would be great.
Yeah, you should do it, man. There's an affiliate link down there on my my profile for a good green screen for, like, $80 with 2 lights. The same setup I use, so you should check it out. So... Where are you? You're in California, correct?
I am.
So are you officially a graduate?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I thought you were done.
I got 1 more year. 1
more year?
1 more. And then I'm done.
Oh, I got my hopes up. I thought you were done this year. My mistake. So 1 more year back at home. Do my taxes, James, Nuclear Goo says.
That's the first thing my parents told me. They were like, wait a minute. Christian, because that's what they call me. Because my dad is also named James. They were like, Christian, wait a minute. Don't you know how to file taxes now? And I was like, I do. And it's like, then why do we pay an accountant to do our taxes? And I'm like, you can pay me instead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I ain't doing that shit for free. Are your parents paying for your education at all?
Other than co-signing some loans, not very.
Okay. Because I was
Luckily, I've made most of my tuition is paid for through scholarships.
Oh, nice.
So I only have to front like $3,000 a year
That's not bad at all. You could probably cover that with some YouTube videos. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, because if they were funding it, then, you know, you're kind of obligated to do their tax. You know, they're basically investing in you becoming their accountant. They're letting you live there, too, so there's that.
Rent-free for 1 more year. I don't know what their plan is. They're like, well, you know, you're working full-time now. It's like you got to start paying some rent. Yep.
Oh, I'm peeking a little bit. Let me turn my... I haven't done this in a while, so my levels are kind of all over the place. We'll fix it in post. So how long have you been back in California?
Let's see, it's the 22nd, so like 17 days, like 2.5 weeks.
I thank you for bringing this this cold weather with you. I appreciate. I think this is the coldest, rainiest May we've had in California in quite some time. I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, I found it really weird. Because I was like, oh, I don't need to bring, you know, a bunch of my hoodies and my warm stuff. Like, it's going to be warm in California. And then I wake up, it's 55 degrees, and there's like a storm outside. And I was like, I made a mistake. Came back too early.
Yeah. By the way, I need to ask you, you should probably... Wait, when do you're home all summer, right? When do you go back?
I'll be going back, I believe, August 20th.
Okay. Because we just began the planning phases of a potential bachelor shindig. And if you're in California, you're definitely invited. So if it ends up being before you go back, which there's a chance that it could be, I think, depending on what works for everyone else. The groomsmen are going to find a date that works for them, and then we're going to invite all the other people that we want to be there. So you can sit outside the bars. No, I just kidding.
Well, I'm used to that already. I did that at TwitchCon.
I know. Yeah, I remember at TwitchCon, you're like, let's go in here. Like, oh, James can't go in there. No, but it's
like that one meme from SpongeBob. They're just in the Krusty Krab. I'm just out there like, hey guys, I'm out here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, I think we don't want to do the stereotypical bachelor party thing. I don't think the plan is to like gamble and drink, and like I don't want to do Vegas or anything. They've thrown around ideas like shooting guns, possible dune buggies, possible, I don't know. We're just gonna do something like fun, and maybe like Airbnb a house for the weekend somewhere and just do a bunch of fun shit. So yeah, I'll have to see if we can find a date that works before you go back.
Keep me posted.
I will. Gotta have my co-host there. We'll have lots of stuff to talk about on the new Hit the Bucket podcast. We should throw a new in front of it, like every so many months or something. Just like change the title slightly, get people excited.
Season 2.
It's good marketing. That being said, I was kind of throwing around some ideas to James before the podcast, and this is not for sure, but I think I personally, you know, we've taken a break. James was doing school. I'm doing wedding stuff, among other things. But it gave me a lot of time to think about the podcast and what I want to do with it. I definitely want to keep doing it, but I think I want to take a more specific direction. I'm not sure what that is yet. It's definitely still going to be internet and meme and game related. But rather than just being a general podcast, I think we're gonna narrow in on either, you know, specific games or specific people or specific topics, and make it something where you have more like something specific to look forward to every week. Because we were kind of joking about how like one week it'll be all about memes and you know, internet controversy, and the next week it's all about taxes and California wildfires and shit. So, you know, it's not every week isn't necessarily for everyone, and we know that, you know, people enjoy one episode and be like, oh cool, I'll check out a couple more, and then like hate the next 3 episodes because they're about something completely different. So I think we're gonna be playing around with some different themes and ideas for the show. So if anyone wants to get involved with that, we do, as I mentioned, have an email address at hitthebucketpodcast@gmail.com. Also, throw ideas out in chat or in the Discord, or there's tons of ways to get a hold of us. We really want to make this a show that you guys want to enjoy listening to, and we already have a few ideas of our own. But if you're like, oh, I always wanted to hear a podcast about this,
about carrots.
Yeah, let's get real specific. Let's just get like uncomfortably specific about vegetables, and just every week just feature a different vegetable. Who knows? No, it's still going to be internet culture, gaming, meme type stuff. But I think, like I said, I just want to get more specific and have, maybe topics that are planned ahead of time that we can kind of announce. That we can be like, hey, this week we're going to be talking about blah, blah, blah. So look forward to that. I think it's going to be good. All the podcasts that I enjoy the most, I think, are the ones that are the most specific. So I realized that I'm like, all the ones I listen to are the complete opposite of the one I make. I was like, I really like that podcast where they talk about, all the ones that Lady Navio listens to or watches, like some of the video podcasts. They're all very specific about like murder mystery and like, they're themed podcasts. You know what you're getting every week. And so I think we're going to work on that a little bit. Hello, Meshyf, with your beautiful, sexy rainbow bucket. I don't care what Gator Pete says. It's the new brightest emote on Twitch.
I don't know. You're competing with the brightest yellow burb I've ever seen.
I'm just gonna crank up the gain like every week, and it's eventually just gonna be like a bright white bucket. Double rainbow all the way. So have you been following any of the classic WoW stuff?
A little bit. I've been catching some streams like here and there. I'm trying not to get like too sucked into the hype, because it's like, if I get super sucked into it and I'm like, oh, I really want to play it. One, it drops in August, which is when I go back to school. So
those motherfuckers do that on purpose.
I know. They're like, if we get these people, early in the semester, they'll drop out and they'll just keep playing. So not a good idea for my senior year to get sucked in a WoW Classic. And I don't know if I'd enjoy it. That's
really?
Another thing. Because I see people like play it and it looks fun and they're having fun. But it's like, how much do I think I would enjoy it? Because although I'm a fan of grindy games, it is like, it's WoW Classic. Like
it's the grind.
It's the grind. It's before they started introducing like all those like mechanics that you don't see to keep you playing because they didn't need it at the time. So it's like, would I enjoy that? Would I really enjoy raiding and blues, and then maybe one day finally getting a purple, and that's like the pinnacle of like my gaming career in WoW Classic?
Yeah. Meshyf asks the question, it's just old WoW. What's the big deal? So I can't answer this because I never played classic WoW. I've actually never played WoW, but I do have friends who are super into it, who I've had lots of conversations with it about. One friend in particular, my friend Tony, he talks about how the classic WoW experience, because it was so grindy, it's just something about it as far as how rewarding it is, because you could grind for hours and never find a weapon, and then you get that dagger drop or whatever, and it just feels so good that like, oh, I finally like this change. Like every time you get a good drop, it completely changes the experience. Whereas like if you play Diablo or something, shit's dropping all over the place, so it kind of like dulls the experience of like finding stuff. Whereas like when you worked hours to get something, it's that much more rewarding, I guess. And so that's a big part of it. And then he also said that like, he's one of the people, I know a lot of people who feel this way, but he feels like it was a pretty solid game up until Burning Crusade. And then like Burning Crusade was basically like the pinnacle of WoW. And then after that, like the later expansions, I guess, just got for a lot of people who are hardcore fans, it just got worse and worse until a lot of them ended up leaving the game because it wasn't that original classic experience that they expected. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding in the sense that there's a ton of people always trying to spin up private WoW servers. There's so many people that are still interested in playing it that there's a market for like these illegal private WoW servers. That same friend Tony, his brother used to run like 3 private WoW servers and made a shit ton of money like in the early, no, I want to say, yeah, probably like the early 2000s. Just like he had his own servers and people would donate money to him to maintain these illegal servers, and he eventually got shut down. But there's a demand for it. People want that classic experience, and it's obvious. Like the people in the private beta are grinding the shit out of it. Like Soda Poppin', I think, has been playing it almost nonstop. The first day he got on the beta, he played for more than 24 hours. Yeah,
and I think the largest stream I saw was Asmongold, and he was sitting at like 100K plus viewers. Like, the hype is there. People have been wanting this.
Yeah, and so for me, the reason that I'm interested in playing it is because I never played WoW. So I don't have any impression of it whatsoever. And so I'm interested in having the first time, I get the benefit of having the first time vanilla WoW experience that, because a lot of people, you know, they compare your first time playing WoW to like your first time doing, you know, cocaine or heroin or weed or something, where like you'll never, like that first experience is you'll spend the rest of your life chasing that experience, right? That's the danger of a lot of those drugs, is like that first experience will always be the best experience because you can never do it again. You can never have another first experience. And so that's why I'm kind of excited. I thought multiple times about jumping into WoW, and my friends kept telling me, it's no good anymore. It's no good anymore. And once Classic WoW came out, I hit up my same friends and they're like, dude, you need to play Classic WoW day one and have your first time experience. And they're all jealous. They're like, I wish I could play WoW for the first time again. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing it just for that reason. Whether or not I continue to play it and grind, it's incredibly grindy, and I really don't have the time to like get to a place where I'd even be able to like do insane raids and stuff. But I think it would be fun to play casually and have that first time WoW experience, just so I can kind of relate to people who have played that game for decades. You know?
Yeah, and it's funny to me, like a lot of the like mechanics and systems that are in like MMOs now that WoW Classic like doesn't have, and people are like, they're looking forward to it. It's like there are no summoning stones, so you go to the city and you find like 19 other people to do a raid, and then you all walk for half an hour to the raid because mounts aren't a thing yet. Because it's like the first mount you get is at like level 30, so you're just walking around everywhere. And then you get there, oh, some guy disconnected. We got to walk all the way back, get a new guy, and then go back. It's like all that stuff too that's like part of the experience.
Well, yeah, and some of that was by design, right? Because by not giving you a mount for a while and forcing you to walk around, you memorize where everything is. You learn the maps and stuff. So it was fun to see people who hadn't played it in such a long time when they got their first quest and they like pulled up their map to look at where to go, and it doesn't show you where to go. Yeah. They're like, oh shit, I gotta find it.
Yeah, it's like, talk to this guy at the like the Arthraki mountain. You open the map, it's like, where is this mountain?
Yeah, there's no like mission indicator. It's like, no, you gotta walk around and find that shit and kill some monsters along the way.
Yeah, you talk to an NPC and it's like, oh, there's a road sign like that way. And you're like, oh, okay, walk down this way. You see a road sign. It's like, there's stuff this way and that way. Like, figure it out. You'll find it.
Well, and the original game, you know, that video that I think Gator Pete posted on the Discord, the original game was designed to encourage you to group up and team up with other people from the very beginning. Like, the first bosses you encounter are not easy. Like, and if you learn very quickly that if you team up, then you will progress much faster. It's just designed that way. It's designed as an MMO in a world full of people where if you work together, you're going to have a better time. And that's kind of exciting. Like in that video, he was like, man, this is going to take forever. And then some guy invited him to like team up and farm. And he was like, oh, this is way better. You know, and it's just like naturally he was like, eventually he was in a team of like 4 people and they're like, you know, grinding out the quest together just because they can get it done so much faster that way. And they weren't even people he knew. They were just like running around the world and like, hey, want to kill these together?
Yeah. And I think that's what people are looking forward to as well. Because like these days, if you haven't played WoW, but I went back at the Battle for Azeroth expansion, and you jump in and it's like, oh, like the next quest I need to do involves me doing a dungeon. Well, let me open up the dungeon finder and it will automatically find people trying to do the same dungeon, and then it'll just throw us into the instance. Whereas now in WoW Classic, it's if you want to run a dungeon, you go in that chat. LFG trying to look for some party members for this. We already got 3 DPS. We need a tank and a healer. Like, come on, let's make it happen.
Right. Which, I mean, I guess I have mixed feelings about that. Obviously, like, designing systems that make things easier is not a bad thing. But at the same time, it does kind of take away from just the organic experience of trying to find people. Like, and once you find that group of people, like I know my first job that I had when I was going to school in Utah, I was a software tester. And there was this guy that worked there who was like a hardcore WoW, like raider and stuff. And, you know, I remember there'd be times where he'd like get a message or like whatever. And he's like, oh shit, I gotta go. My raid is in 30 minutes. And like, he would talk about like his guild members and stuff. Like, he had a legitimate connection to this group of people because he finally had like this group of people that all got along, worked together, were able to meet up at the same time, but he found them through WoW. It wasn't like people that he knew, or it wasn't, you know, just like through matchmaking. It was like organically this group of people had built up a guild. And like, that's, I don't know, there's something cool about that. I don't know. I think I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. I think the internet is cool like that. Well, exactly. And I think that's why when you automate everything, it kind of takes away from that, because you don't have to plan, right? You can just be like, oh, I'll just show up and hit join queue and it'll fill me in the role that needs to be filled in a group that's waiting for me or whatever. And so you never really get to know those people. You never have to plan anything. It's just like, no, I'm just filling a slot so I can get the stuff and move on to the next place.
Yeah, maybe every once in a while one guy's just like, hey, like you did pretty good. Like, you want to add me as a friend and we'll run some dungeons like at another time. It's like that happens, but it doesn't happen often.
Right. So, I don't know. I think I'll definitely try it. I don't think I'm going to become, you know, mark my word, I don't know. A year from now, I'm going to like have no job and be living on the streets because I squandered my life on WoW. No, I don't see that happening. I think I'm old enough and I have enough self-control that I can play it casually. I didn't play it when it came out because I knew that it would fucking ruin my life. I actively avoided playing WoW. But now I think I'm 35. I think I can, walk away from from grinding. How old is that game? How many years old is it?
It's like 17 years old.
Yeah. I don't think I need to dedicate too much time.
Like, is it that old?
To a 17-year-old MMO. Plus, you got Warframe to
2001 and released in 2004.
Yeah, 2004. That's right. Yeah, it came out when I was still in Brazil. And that's another reason I kind of missed the initial hype of it. By the time I came back, all my friends were already playing it, and they were already had high-level characters and shit. So I was like, I'm gonna go play Counter-Strike. I didn't, for me to catch up, and I don't know, it didn't appeal to me because I didn't organically have that experience with my friends. I got back and everyone's like, hey, we're playing this game called WoW, you should join our guild. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know anything about it. And you guys are all I don't know, jumping into a culture or a world that already exists always feels harder than like when you grow up with it, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
If that makes sense. It's like being the new kid at school. Like everyone's already got their groups of friends, so it's always like kind of, you know.
It's like you see the established like cliques, but you're like, I can't just enter them.
Yeah.
It takes time, and then someone's got to like think you're cool enough to join them, and then you got to figure out like the culture. It's weird.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, our guild is full. We already have all our roles filled, but like because they were my friend, they would try and be like, well, you know, you could play a rogue or something, you know, in case like we need a backup or what. I was just like, no, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And then I think I ended up picking up WoW at some point, or sorry, League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Around then, right? How old is it? League of Legends? Pretty old too. I feel like it's been around for.
League is like, it's old. I don't think it's that old though, because I remember it being announced when I was in middle school. So that's like 2009.
Oh, okay. Wonder what I was playing then. I definitely missed
Han.
Maybe Han? That one came out first, right?
Yeah, Han was first. I don't know. Maybe you played some Dota.
I did. I was playing like Warcraft 3 custom maps. And I was playing Counter-Strike and StarCraft, Quake 3. I think I played a lot of like single player games when I got back from my mission too. Just because, oh yeah, 2K, yeah, the old Unreal Tournament games were awesome. I enjoyed those quite a bit. I think, but after being gone for 2 years and not being able to play games, I remember like there was a list of single player games that I was like already ready. Like I'm like, 2 years, that's a long time. I got to catch up on all these games. So I think I like kind of became a hermit and just played a lot of the single player stuff that I had missed for a couple years. And then kind of went back into my backlog. I think like Diablo 2, I definitely got back into that a bit. Just, yeah, never, WoW was, I didn't let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. If nothing else, it'll be a fun little experiment. Maybe I'll stream it.
My room has been invaded.
Oh, you get a cat?
No, it's my dog.
Oh, a dog. Dogs are cool too, I guess.
Wait a minute. Her head is like at waist level. What do you mean that's a cat?
I can't see it. I crop like it.
Okay. So they can't see that I'm petting a beautiful doggo right now.
They just see you kind of looking over and there you go.
Mm-hmm. She was kind of spooked today because there was a thunderstorm. She was having none of it. She hates water.
Yeah. You play anything else new? Anything? I noticed I have seen you playing a little bit of Minion Masters, but I know you're pretty bummed about where it's at right now balance wise, so I won't talk about it too much.
Yeah.
1.0 is coming out. I guess that's worth mentioning, but they really need to I'm hoping that once they push out the official 1.0 version that they go back to their normal cycle of balance patches and stuff, because
that's what we're all hoping.
It needs it. I mean,
there's so many of us that are like the original like old vets that have been playing for like 2+ years, and we're all just like, at first we were seeing the changes and we were pretty cool with it because like there was communication, and then more changes were happening, and then it felt like they weren't listening, and then we got 4 months of people complaining about the same like overpowered stuff and nothing happening about it. If it was any longer for 1.0, the 1.0 launch, I think I probably would have put it down for a while too, because I know most of my friends that play it, they've already put it down. But me, I still get in like every once in a while, like, oh, I'll play like a few games, but it's so boring when you want to spin up like a fun, interesting deck. Like I want to play with like this card that adds 3 random cards to my deck and discounts them, so I'll get some insane value. It sucks when you want to like play a fun deck and then just see the exact same archetype from every single other person you're playing against.
Yeah, the meta's kind of stuck.
Boring.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because back when we used to play, it was fun because there was like a lot of variation. I remember like the first time I played, I got a lucky roll. Like in one of my very first chests, I got a troubadour, and so like I was just trying to find all these fun creative builds around troubadour, just because I thought it was like the original troubadour when it came out. The bagpipes were like 3 times as loud, and a lot of people didn't even realize that it had a taunt mechanic on it, like because it was such a new game. And so I just remember trolling people with troubadour decks. That was my thing. All I play it, like no matter what deck I would build, it had to have at least one troubadour in it. And I had a ton of fun, and I did fairly well. Like I don't feel like I was, grandmaster material, but I was definitely like slowly moving up the ranks with my silly troubadour decks. And now I feel like that doesn't really happen anymore. Like you kind of have to play the meta, and then like you said, you keep seeing the same shit from the same people over and over.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
The only thing that, I mean, you can kind of curb that a little bit by doing 2v2s, right? Because there's a little more.
It's a little worse though.
You think so?
You run into the same archetype in 1v1, and you can like kind of build your deck like to beat it, which is like a bit fun for a little bit. But in 2v2, it's as long as you don't run into a pre-made group, you're good. Because if you run into a pre-made group, they're probably running. You're either running into a pre-made group that just wants to have a fun time and are just playing whatever, or you run into a pre-made group that are running triple rock rivals, double hypnotize, so they play 3 units that summon 3 units on your side of the field that they then hypnotize, so they immediately start attacking your face and you die. And it's just like, what? It's crazy. And it's like, I forgive it a little bit just because you go from 1v1 to 2v2, twice the number of players, twice the number of cards. There's a lot more interactions that they probably haven't thought about,
right? And
it's so much harder to balance. But it's like I've always seen 2v2 as like the more fun, like casual mode. But you run into a few people like that are like really try-harding with a super like weird combo that just kills you, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I could see that. That sucks. Well, on to better things, I guess. If they don't start,
what I tell people, it's like I liked Minion Masters because it cost me $5 at the time,
right,
just to get in, and it was a fun experience. And I didn't have a lot of money for other games, but now I have a ton of games. Like I don't need to spend so much time just playing one.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many options out there these days. I feel like you have to be really careful as a company not to make too many missteps, because people will just go to the next thing. They had a solid player base, and I feel like they're in danger of kind of letting that slip away. They're going to lose all their momentum because they've gone too long without patching, without balancing.
So that's what we're hoping. They did like show us a lot of they did show the balance patch for 1.0, and it is stuff that like we were like, finally, like you're finally fixing this stuff.
Right.
But then there are some that they didn't even mention. So we're like, oh, so that's still going to be a thing, cuz everybody complains about Guardian, which is a card that protects other minions, for people that have no idea what we're talking about. And it feels so oppressive. And it feels like there's no point in trying to beat it because eventually it's going to steamroll. That we're like, why? Like, just do something, please.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's never going to happen. And it's worse too, because we keep thinking like they're going to introduce a card to help like beat that archetype, and then that card gets into that archetype as a tool for it, and we're like, oh man, you joined the dark side. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Especially when there's so many other, like, didn't Valve just announce that they're working on their own version of Dota
AutoChess?
AutoChess?
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean,
and it's pretty good. Not gonna lie.
I'm pretty excited about that. Um, I obviously wish that Artifact was in a better place. Um, it is a fun game to play, but they just really made some mistakes on progression and certain things. I'm not completely giving up hope on it. I'm definitely not investing any time and money in it. They said they're in it for the long haul. Supposedly, that's the meme that everyone keeps throwing around online.
We're
But
keeping the servers up, guys. Don't worry
we're
about
in
it.
it for the long haul. That's what they said. But it's easy to
The
keep
relaunch.
it's easy to keep a server up when there's no data that you have to pay for on that server.
Like they most likely just like spun it off on some old like Steam servers, and we're just like, it's not. We had like 100 max players yesterday. We don't need to spin up anymore.
But if hopefully what I'm hoping is that they learned all of the lessons that they needed to learn on Artifact. So if they do, go all in on this AutoChess version, that they take those learning lessons and they apply them. and, and they, design a better experience. Because no matter how good the gameplay is these days, everything around the gameplay has to be at least competent. Like, it doesn't even have to be amazing, but at least like the systems for earning cards, for progression, for bringing people back, for wanting to play more, for investing the time and money, like that stuff has to be at least designed adequately. You can't just put all of your hope in the fact that the gameplay is good, so people will play it. Unfortunately, that's not enough these days. Unless the gameplay is just like revolutionary, you better have some other things to keep people coming back.
Unless it's so fresh that it just works. Because it's like Apex.
Right.
Like, it was so fresh, even though the genre wasn't new, that people loved it. And that's kind of where Artifact like didn't work. It was a really fresh take on the card game genre. But when you release a new, and this is a TCG, not a CCG like most of the other ones.
Right.
When you release one of those and it's not free to play and you can only get more cards by spending real money on it, people are like, well, why should I play this when any other card game on the market, I don't have to spend nearly as much money? Even though, like, if you compare like Artifact, buying cards in Artifact to buying cards in like a game like Hearthstone, Artifact is way cheaper.
Right.
But it doesn't feel that way when Hearthstone says, oh, you don't have to spend any money because you can earn gold. And with gold, you can buy card packs.
Right. Yeah, there was no alternate route. If you want cards, you pay for them, which they were kind of going for like a digital Magic the Gathering kind of model where you buy cards, which Magic the Gathering can get away with that because they already had that model to begin with. Long before they made the digital version, people are already in their minds like, oh yeah, if I want more Magic cards or if I want a specific card, I got to buy a bunch of packs and hope I get that card. Like they've been conditioned to expect that. But if you make a digital game, people are going to compare it to digital alternatives. And when you have a game like Eternal, where I feel like they're throwing cards at you, especially in the first, like in the earlier levels of that game, and like there was that Twitch Prime one that gave you like 2 or 3 like full decks. There was,
it gave you like 40 packs.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for having Twitch Prime.
Yeah, the equivalent of like multiple full decks, right? And they're constantly having patches and upgrades and new cards. Even though the player base isn't like massive,
great,
it has a solid player base because they have continued to make, what's it called? Quality of life improvements to the game over time. And they make it very easy to grind more content. Plus the tutorial in that game, like out of all the card games that I've played, I have to say, like, Hearthstone is finally, hopefully, catching up with like this whole single player thing that they're doing. But like, I really, really enjoyed the Eternal as a new player. The way they like have the whole kind of, you know, there's like a whole backstory, and then you play through all of those tutorial missions where they like introduce the characters, and the whole time you're learning to play the game, but you're also like unlocking more cards and more different types, because they don't like throw all of them at you at once. I think they give you like I forget what the first deck type they give you is, but
was it a red deck?
I think it's a red deck. Yeah, I think they give you
like it was red.
They give you a red deck first, and then they give you some basic mechanics, and there's like some dialogue and some little cutscenes, and then another tutorial. And I feel like they really did a good job, like keeping you going through the learning process and not just making it now click here. You know, like it was kind of, there was dialogue and kind of like a backstory to the whole thing. I thought that was really fun and engaging.
And it was pretty easy to follow.
Right.
Like you could look at a board state and be like, I know what's going on. Whereas in an artifact, you were like, there are 3 boards? What? What is happening? What do you mean? Nothing makes sense.
Which really surprised me, because I thought they would have learned their lesson from Dota 2, because when Dota 2 first came out, there was no tutorial. They just...
Oh, nope.
And
it was in beta for like, what, 2-3 years?
And they just banked on the fact that most people who played the original Dota would understand the basic mechanics of Dota 2. And, you know, that was a calculated risk that they took, and it worked. But then eventually they realized, oh, if we want to grow the player base and if we want to appeal to new players, we better explain how the fuck to play this game. And so eventually now there's like a really intuitive, like, training there's a whole section of Dota 2 that just trains you on how to play the game. And
it's like there were whole sections. It's like, to get past this section, last hit 5 creeps.
Right.
Because it's like last hitting is super important. If you can't last hit, you're not gonna ever win in the game.
Well, and then they had that whole map where like you go through, like it's an actual progressive thing where you go through the different missions, like you move through the map and like all the tutorials, right? And then they added like the whole coaching system or whatever, where, you know, people will actually actively coach you on the game and all that stuff. So
like the captain's mode.
Yeah. Called it. So you would think after going through all of that with Dota 2 that they would have learned their lesson, right? But then they throw Artifact at you, and there was not enough coaching. There was not enough tutorial. I really, even after what little like hand holding there was, I was still very much like, I have no idea how to play this game.
Like before I picked it up and started playing it, I would watch streamers play it just to figure it out. And I forget which one I watched, but I had asked a question like, "Oh, how does this mechanic work?" And he's like, "I have no idea." Like he was like, "I'm pretty sure it's random, but I don't know like to what extent. I just know it's random." And then like if you looked up a tutorial on like YouTube so you could watch someone explain it, they were like 40 to 50 minutes long.
Yeah, no.
So much to unpack, and it's like that's a lot to learn. When like you look at a different card game and it's like you tap lands and then you attack, or Hearthstone is just like you gain mana every turn, you play cards if you have the mana for it. Like at its base it was that simple. And then Artifact is like, there are 3 lanes, you can only play cards of colors if you have a hero of that color in each lane. Items you buy with a separate currency at the end of each round, and you're like, what is happening?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics baked into it that are never really fully explained. And then even like how those mechanics interact with each other. Like I remember being confused by like, so you've got items, you've got cards, or like you've got like units like that are, you know, you put out on the field. And then there's also those permanent effects that you can put like on a lane. You know, like that one that shoots
the improvements.
Yeah, that shoot cannons at the end of every turn, or that like, you know, have like effects, you know. And I remember just getting my ass handed to me over and over again and not understanding why until I really understood how that whole improvement system worked. because like at the end of every turn I was just taking damage, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like,
Like,
what is hitting me?
yeah,
And then you finally mouse over like this little metallic
it's
circle
just like a little circle in
with
there.
triangles on it, and you're like, wait, what is this? And it's like deals 1 piercing damage at the end of the round.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just mechanically, it is a really interesting game, but I think they just, you know, didn't do a good enough job. So all that to be said, I think I'm hoping that they learn those lessons with AutoChess and that they give it a solid tutorial or something, some incentive to get you to learn the game properly. Because I
Hmm.
played AutoChess.
And you had no idea what you were doing.
I played a game and I was like, what the fuck? Because the timer's really fast. Like your turn
Yeah, you had
timer,
30 seconds.
your first game you play, like I literally would do one thing and then my time would be out because I'd be thinking too much. I didn't like after a while it becomes intuitive and you're like, oh, I need to do this, do this, do this. Cool, my turn's up. Next turn. But at the beginning, you're like trying to read all the tool tips and you're like trying to understand, oh, okay, so I can like roll if I want. I don't like any of these characters, so I can spend a little money and roll and get like new ones that I can pick from. And then, uh, you know, understanding how the donkey works as far as like picking up a character and putting it on the board or going like picking up items. There's like lots of little mechanics that were a little quirky, but they were fairly intuitive, like easy enough to learn. So my first game, I got my ass handed to me because I just felt like I didn't have enough time to do anything. I watched a YouTube video, learned some of the other subtle mechanics too, like the fact that the whole winning streak, losing streak thing was a big one
Oh
for
yeah,
me
that's a
because the
big one.
first time I played, I'd like win around, lose around, win around, lose, and that's like the worst possible thing you could do in that game because you get money for winning streaks and then you get money for losing streaks. So if you're never on a streak either way, you're kind of just like boning yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember my first couple of games. I didn't really quite understand like how to build like a good unit comp, so I would just be buying random stuff and losing like every round. I was like, "Oh, this sucks." But then I was watching a streamer and he's like, "Oh yeah, like because of the losing streak, as long as you lose a little bit, you lose some health, but you'll keep getting more money." And I was like, "Oh, well since I'm always losing anyway, that could be my strategy. Just keep earning so much money by losing a little bit that eventually the quality of my units is just going to be better than the other guys and I'll win."
Yeah, and that is a valid strategy. Like you see guys doing that. The only other mechanic in that that really frustrated me is there's like very, very, very little explanation of unless you play Dota, the idea of item recipes.
Oh yeah, I
So
had
like you'll have
the
an
first thing I
inventory.
did. The first thing I did was Google Dota 2 auto chest item recipes. That way, I had the list of all the item drops and how to craft them, because I had no idea what any of them were.
Yeah, they need to have some more intuitive way to like, have all your like because the other problem is your items are spread out across multiple units. So what I think they need to do is have a UI of some sort where like if you like maybe like a mouse over, like if you push your mouse to the right edge of the screen, a little thing pops out and shows you all of the items that you have across all of your characters and maybe highlights them if they're able to be combined to make an item. There needs to be some way to like intuitively show you, hey, you have enough items to, you know, craft a new item.
Hmm.
Because that was super frustrating for me at the beginning. Even though I know most of the crafting recipes from Dota, I when Dota 2 first came out, I played it a lot. I put a couple hundred hours into that game. So I knew the recipes, but I didn't realize that that was actually a mechanic in auto chess until like my third or fourth game in.
Or just knowing like how the item drops even work,
Right.
because it never tells you like, okay, the first 5 rounds are versus creeps, and then every fifth round after that, more creeps will spawn, and each creep that dies has a random chance of dropping an item, and you're just like, what? Like, what items are available to drop? So you have to look up like the drop list, and then figure out like, because each creeps that spawn every 5 rounds, it's always the same ones. So now you have to learn like which ones those are. And then if you've never made it to like round 40 or 50, you don't even like know what's coming up. Because when you get into those later rounds, if someone doesn't have like a strong team comp, the creeps will just kill them.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, this is the thing?
Yeah. Nuclear goo did, I did eventually learn that nuclear goo. He said, so when a new item drops, you can right click on it while it's on the courier and it will show you what items it can combine into. Think about how specific that sentence you just typed is.
I know,
So,
that's it.
like, your courier picks it up before you give it to one of your units. You got to right click on it to look at what you can build with it. But then you have to like remember, okay, well, do any of my other characters out on the board already have some of these pieces that I can use to make this item? Like, it's just a lot, especially with how short the round timers are. It's a lot to try and like figure out in the short amount of time that you have in between turns, especially for a new player. It felt really overwhelming for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
never
really explained. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't tell you, oh, right click on this item.
Mm-hmm. And then you learn you can only get those items back if you sell off that unit. So you're like, oh, I accidentally gave this unit to this one, but I wanted to give it to her. Well, I have to sell that unit. And it's like, but I like that one. That's integral to my strategy. I can't just sell it. So you have to deal with it.
Yeah. So it definitely has room for improvement. So I'm actually excited that Valve is gonna, because I think some of those limitations that we're discussing are probably limitations of the modding tools for Dota 2, because it's a Dota 2 mod, and as powerful as the tools are, there's nothing more powerful than having the source code, right? So
yeah,
by Valve doing it themselves, they have full control and access to the core code of the game. So they can make some of those quality of life improvements probably better than you could do in a mod. Plus they have manpower, right? A modding team is how, I don't know how big the AutoChess mod team is, but now that they've got the power of Valve developers behind it, that's...
I think it's like 4 or so Chinese developers.
Yeah. So, and I heard the mobile version's pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't
That's
played
what
it,
they're
but...
really banking on. The modders are basically, they're like, you guys can build the standalone AutoChess for PC. We're gonna build it for mobile because they're in China and the mobile market is just way bigger.
Well, yeah, and it was obvious, like the first time I remember, like when I very first installed AutoChess, like baked into the game, it's like got the developer's name all over it, and it's like talks about the, like they're obviously trying to just like get you hooked on the mod and then convert you over to the mobile version. Because if you go to the subreddit too, most of the subreddit, like a lot of the subreddit is talking about specifically the mobile version.
Mm-hmm. Although I feel like the mobile version will do very well in China, but not so well in the US, just because most people don't want to spend, because the average
The
game
games are
length for
long, yeah.
AutoChess is like 40 to 50 minutes if you're like good at the game. Like if you don't get stomped early, like you're committed for 40 to 50 minutes. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be like stuck on my phone, just have it plugged in playing AutoChess when I could be doing something else.
Right.
So it's like that's going to be a big thing, because most people in the US at least like have more access to PCs and don't really spend that much time on their phone playing a mobile game.
Yeah, I didn't invest all of the, couple $1,000s into a nice computer and 3 monitors to play mobile games all day. If I'm going to play a long mobile game, I'm going to sit down and be comfortable and play it, or if I'm going to play auto chess, I'm going to sit down and be comfortable and play it on my computer with Netflix on one screen and Discord on the other. So
and that's what sucks too. Like all these great mobile games, they all require an internet connection. And the only time I'm going to be like on my phone for that long is if I'm on a flight and I don't have internet.
Yeah, I've been using that program lately, because when I am sitting at my computer, I'll plug my phone in. I have like an open source debugger, like full screen mobile tool, so that I can, like, for example, Crush Them All that we've been playing. I have it up on like my third monitor while I'm doing other stuff, so that I can kind of like play it while I'm at my computer. So that's my compromise, so I can still play the mobile games I enjoy while I'm doing other things on my computer. But yeah, no, I don't think long form stuff works very well in the US market for mobile. I think I think that's why like Fortnite mobile and PUBG mobile do well is because most people aren't good at it and they die fairly quickly. So it's not a
Yeah,
huge
like 10 to
time.
15 minutes.
Yeah, you know, you drop in and you get shot in the first building trying to run and get a gun. So, you know, the games tend to be quite a bit shorter, and I think that works better. Are there? I mean, I this is pure ignorance on my part. Is that a thing? Do people just because I can't imagine sitting and playing one game on a mobile for like 40 minutes. But there's like, what's that League of Legends clone? Like people play that. There's like a
Oh,
competitive
I know
scene
what you're
for it.
talking about, but is it Arena of Valor? Is it that
May
one?
maybe I thought it had League in the title,
League of Champions? No, I don't think that's it. But
but
I know what you're talking about. At least outside of the US and a lot of the Asian countries, that is a thing that happens. Just because when you compare the two, most people don't have the money to put down on a PC, which is extremely expensive, when phones are pretty heavily subsidized,
ah,
especially in China.
true.
So you can get a pretty decent smartphone for like $200-300. So it's just that's another way like the how the market works. Since more people spend their time playing games on their phones, it's so much bigger. Because like yeah, there is that League mobile game that is pretty big. I know PUBG Mobile has its own like esports scene
Right.
so much that there's a couple ORGs that have like full sponsor teams playing PUBG Mobile.
Yeah. That's crazy to me, dude.
Yeah, I remember I was approached by a firm to basically make some PUBG Mobile videos for them. And I was like, wait, what? Why? Like, where's the market for PUBG Mobile? And then I learned it's in China.
Yeah. No, I guess that makes sense because I remember I guess I forget that like there are other yeah, and this is just my first world ignorance, but there are a lot of places in the world where people don't, you know, it's pretty common for there to be a household computer or for people to have gaming PCs in the US, but there's a lot of places in the world where everybody does everything on their phone. They don't
Hmm.
even have computers. They just use mobile for everything. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I need to remember that.
Yeah, I remember talking to Gandalf down in Argentina, and he was like, "Yeah, PC parts they ain't cheap.
Right.
Like even in Australia, like it's extremely expensive, but they have the higher income to support it."
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, we'll see. I really hope that Auto Chess. I enjoy it. It's a fun game. I think it
Mhm.
needs some streamlining, some optimization, some better tutorials, some balancing. But overall, I like the premise. I like the idea of the game.
Hmm. Uh, it's fun because every match is different,
Right.
and then it's just so good to just oh these units are bad, re-roll. Oh these are bad too, re-roll. Oh that's a good one, you buy it. Like you get that little hit each time, and
Yeah.
it's just and you don't even realize how big of a time sink it can be because like it keeps you actively engaged the entire time because it's in those 30-second increments. Like you don't even realize that 30 minutes has passed because you've only viewed it in those 30-second increments.
Yeah, no, I think it was a really smart idea to put a relatively short round timer on it.
Hmm.
Um, because if I didn't have that 30-second limit, I would probably spend a long ass time like theory crafting like what I'm gonna do and best build. Like I'm that way. I'm like a min max or tinkerer. So like if they gave me the time, I would use it.
Hmm.
But by forcing you to constantly be just like making decisions and moving forward, like you said, you don't even realize. Like the first time I played for like 3 hours. And I like looked at the clock and I was like, "Holy shit! I think I played like 2 games." Or I don't like it. What it didn't feel like I had been playing for that long, but the time just went by. Like
Hmm.
it was definitely engaging. So I could see that. What else you've been playing? Anything else? You've been playing a little Warframe here and there, right?
Been playing a lot of Warframe actually,
I know. I was.
a lot, but more on and off. I've gotten to the point where it's like I have so much free time that I can just devote in a grinding into a game like Warframe. But other than that, I think I went back to Hearthstone for a little bit because they introduced the single player. It's not a dungeon run. What do they call it? The heist, because it's centered around the latest expansion. And this indie title called Pandemic Express was pretty good. But other than that, I don't think I was playing too much else.
So Pandemic Express, that's the one where you all start in like a train station, and
Hmm.
then one person is like infected, like they become a zombie, and then essentially try and spread it. And then
Yes.
so I played a mod. I feel like it was for Half-Life or Counter-Strike that was basically the same premise.
Hmm.
I know that idea has been kind of done before.
It's been around, yeah. That's why I was so excited to play it. Because as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, I was back in like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, not even playing the game, waiting for one of my friends to show up because on their status it would say Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 custom lobby. And that's when I knew it was time, because in these custom lobbies it was set up so one person would spawn, they'd only have a knife, and if they killed you, you were put on the team and you only had a knife too. So it was the same premise. One
Yeah.
person's infected and people are trying to fight it. But in that one, it was pretty much just go until no one's left, and it was just on the Call of Duty maps, and it was such a fun like game mode to me that when I saw them make it in a Pandemic Express, I saw a little bit of that in it, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. It looks good.
So what do you think compared to like the mods and versions of it that you've played before? How did it do you feel like it was pretty well designed? Did it get repetitive? I watched some guys stream it and I felt like it got a bit repetitive because I felt like there was like this cave that they all like every game they would all try and make it to this specific spot for some reason, and it just like seemed kind of like it got repetitive kind of quick.
Hmm. So from my experience, they did a weird thing with the name. It's called Pandemic Express, and it really paints that idea of like, okay, pandemic, so this is zombies killing the humans, and express to be like on the train. That's actually one of the 4 game modes that they have in the game right now, which is you leave the train station, you get on the train, and you take the train to the exit, and you're on a rail. And they have 3 more modes that aren't out yet, but it's going to be a boat, a I believe it's called a gondola, the one that's like on the wires that goes like over mountains, and a rocket ship. So it's kind of repetitive right now just because there's really only like one map, and it's the spawns are different, but it's one map. You kind of already know like what the rail system is.
Right.
And to the idea of they were running to the cave, it's most likely because in each game there's a supply crate that randomly spawns, but yeah, it's usually in that cave. And the survivors, if you run to it, it gives you the best chance of winning the game because you go to it, you interact with it, and it starts a timer. At the end of the timer, it opens up, and there's like how many? Like I think 10 to 15 of like 4 5-star weapons in it, because guns are rated by star, and it doesn't. I don't think they increase the damage; it just increases the mag capacity. So if you get those guns, you're pretty much set. Because if you have like the 5-star AK, you have an 80 round drum, so it makes you really good at killing these zombies, or the rocket launchers in there as well.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
why people go to it, because the guns are really good.
Right.
But in short bursts, I liked it a lot. And I've also, the skill cap is also very high. So that's what's keeping me interested. Because in the entire time I've played, I have never won a single game as a human. And I've only seen a human team win once. And then the devs were like, hey, we have the number one like player in the game. He's going to stream for us on the Steam page. Like, watch his gameplay. So I was like there watching it. And I see him. I watch him and I'm like, okay, like how, like he's number one based on like number of wins as a human. So clearly he's doing something right. What's happening? And I
Right.
see his gameplay. He's shooting at the ground using the momentum from firing the gun to give him extra speed so he can basically bunny hop faster than the zombies can even move. And then another thing I learned, you go up to a building if you point at like an angle like 45 degrees and start shooting, it'll propel you up the wall. So he's using all
Oh,
these momentum mechanics to his advantage, and it's like how he was able to get so good because he knows how to bunny hop. He knows how to be extremely mobile when most people have no idea like that even exists.
so those are mechanics taken straight from Quake 3. That's why I got
Mhm.
excited. There's a plasma rifle in Quake. If you jump and you shoot a wall at the right angle, you can climb all the way up a wall using a plasma rifle, and then you can rocket jump. And yeah, there's all kinds of like mobility manipulation you can do with the guns. So that's kind of interesting that they included that mechanic in the game.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that. I mean, there's games that have rocket jumping and stuff. Obviously, Overwatch uses that. You know, it's a mechanic that is tried and tested. It's a fun mechanic. There's something magical about just like propelling yourself with an explosion that like you can't deny. It just feels good. So that's cool to see them kind of experimenting with those mechanics. It would have been cool maybe if they like made that official and told people, "Hey, try using your
Yeah.
guns for mobility." But
Yeah, I think that's why they don't want to, because I've seen a lot of people like be like, "How do people do that?" Because once I saw it, I was trying to figure it out. Because I
it
remember
takes
someone saying,
practice.
"Yeah, it does." Like I keep trying to learn how to bunny hop, and the first thing I learned was when you're bunny hopping, take your hand off of the forward key. Like don't
You got
hold
to
it because it
strafe.
ruins it.
Yep.
So, and that's so difficult to me because like by default, if I'm moving, I'm holding down the W key, and it's so hard for me to like get out of that. So I still can't bunny hop. But like all the other stuff I've gotten a little bit better at. Or like if you slide down a mountain, if you're just sliding, you're going pretty fast. But if you jump off at the angle, you get so much momentum that you'll just fly through the map. So once I learn how to bunny hop, I'll be unstoppable. But right now I'm doing all right, doing okay.
Yeah, no, bunny hopping, it's one of those things where like it's so counterintuitive at first when you try and learn it that it's really, really frustrating. But if you can power through it, once there's like this moment where it just clicks, where like the
Mhm.
pattern, because like I don't know if it's the same in that game, but in Quake 3, you essentially have to jump and you strafe one way and look the other way, and as soon as you land you jump again and strafe the other way and look the opposite way, and it's kind of like this swinging like rhythmic pattern that you do where you swing from side to side, and like you said, you never press, if you're doing it properly to get full acceleration, you never press the forward key. And it's so essential in Quake 3 that a lot of people, myself included, it's the only game where I bind the jump key to right click, because you're the entire time you're playing that game, you're bunny hopping through the map. Like if you're not moving at a certain pace, you're just going to get picked off. And so you like by making your jump button your right click button, you're easily able to, it frees up your left hand to do that strafing looking kind of swinging mechanic, and you're just right clicking to jump and you get that rhythm down, and then you're just, yeah, like you said, you can just fly through the map. There,
Mhm.
in fact, there's whole maps on Quake 3 dedicated to bunny hopping. There's this map that's over lava, and it's these little platforms that get further and further apart. Because if you're doing it right, you'll gain acceleration over time. So eventually, the platforms are like a significant distance apart, and it actually has an acceleration meter in the bottom left corner that tells you how fast you're moving. Like it's an integral part of the Quake 3 experience. If you want to like back in the day, if you wanted to be competitive, you had to know how to strafe jump properly. So that's kind of exciting. I think those are fun mechanics. Like you said, they have a very high skill ceiling.
Mhm.
You know, it's easy to learn the basic mechanics of the game, but there's a lot of room to just like dominate if you take the time to learn the mechanics.
Mhm. And then for the zombies, they actually did a pretty significant, like I want to say nerf, but they said no, we put that class away just so we can test out this new class like in a vacuum. Because the zombies, there's the basic zombie, and when I was playing it a lot, there was a not a mimic, there was a stealth zombie and a boomer. So the stealth zombie, as the name sounds, turns invisible
Right.
and just sneaks up on the humans and can deal some damage. But the boomer was honestly, it felt like BS to me, but people were telling me like, no, it's because you're new at the game, you don't know how to properly deal with it. But I was like, there's also a lot of latency, so I don't want to deal with that. Which the boomers, when they died, they explode. So you had to knock them away, like far away enough to where you didn't just get one shot. Because that's also why I think a lot of my games I never won as a human. Because we would be on the train, come up to an overpass, and suddenly 5 boomer zombies just jump off as they're detonating. So by the time they reach us, we can't get them all. So one of them, and then it starts snowballing from there.
Right.
And then, so they put away the boomer zombie and they added the mimic zombie. It turns into a human, but it's really obvious because they don't have weapons. So they're just running around with the bare hands, and you're like, that's not a team.
But it's just enough where you like, even though it's obvious, it's still like that split second of like you see someone and you don't instinctively be like, oh, zombie, like you do. Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah.
But they also explode. The radius is a lot smaller, but yeah, they also explode in the same way.
Yeah.
And then the basic default zombies, they just have 3 times the amount of health. And I think that's also a part of the learning curve, as well as knowing, like, one, if you can do the same movement as a zombie, you can catch up to the humans pretty well because they have the guns for bonus momentum. You only have the movement.
Right.
And then something else that they never explained, zombies have a grab mechanic where you right-click near a human and you pull them into you, and then you can shoot them into another direction, like wherever you want. So the key is you can grab someone, and if you shoot them in a water, they can't use their gun and they can only swim. Now they get the bonus that they're unmarked if they're in the water, so you can't track them easily.
Oh, okay.
But if you know where you tossed them, like you're going to find them easily, and that's when you can tear them apart because they can't do anything in the water.
Right.
And it's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, it gets a little bit repetitive if I've been playing it so much, because the only progression they have right now is like a basic level system.
Yeah.
So that's about it. I guess if I had to say I had one gripe with the game, is that the zombies kind of have an aimbot, in that they don't have to look at you and like hit you to deal damage. If they get close enough to you, they just have to left click and it'll automatically swipe at you. So as long as they're near enough, they're going to hit you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nuclear Goo said, and I remember this from playing those types of games. He said, from what I remember about zombie games, if you're a human, you will die unless you find a way to manipulate the map in your favor. And for some people, I could see how that would be frustrating. Most of the time, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a while to learn and like find the tricks in the maps and the tricks in the mechanics and all that stuff to get to that level. And I feel like these days, with the attention span of most people, as cool as that is, with all those like fun mechanics and like little tricks and whatnot, a lot of people don't have the attention span to learn that shit. And they'll just be like, I've lost 10 games in a row, I'm done. And they'll go play something else.
Mm-hmm. That is where I think that they have the advantage, because you don't really lose. You join the zombie team.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're like, oh, I didn't make it to the end, but now I'm making sure that these guys aren't making it to the end.
I agree with you, except for the fact that they featured a guy who was the best player, who had the most wins as a human. So obviously, like, there is a certain like prestige to be someone who can actually like win a game as a human, right? Like, that's where the real bragging rights are. Mm-hmm. So,
although it is interesting, all the games I watched him play, he was the only human that won. Everyone else dies. So that's where the prestige comes in. Like, he can win against all 29 other players in the lobby.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I just worry that, like, so what I was saying about Quake 3, they had the advantage of being the only game like it, right? Because Counter-Strike was a completely different game. Like, Unreal Tournament and Quake kind of competed with each other, but like Unreal Tournament went the more like team-based route. Quake 3 was really the only, like, if back when Quake 3 was in its prime, it was the only like team, like deathmatch game that I remember like everyone I knew played it. We had LAN parties and we'd play Quake 3 for like 24 hours. Like,
Hmm.
you had the Two Towers map, you had team deathmatch, you had capture the flag, it had all the modes that you would want. And so there was incentive to tough it out and to learn those mechanics and to get better at the game because everyone was playing it.
Hmm.
There's so many games now that I feel like, yeah, you can have all these creative mechanics and you can make it challenging and all that stuff, but for the casual player who's like, oh, this looks fun, and then they play 10 games and they just keep getting their ass handed to them, they'll probably just play something else. So I don't know, it's tricky because I'm
Hmm.
really excited about the mechanics you're telling me about, but I worry that people won't invest the time to really exploit those mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is really fun, but it kind like as I said earlier, it kind of does get repetitive after a time, just because it's brand new. Like they just apparently like they did have like a closed early access that people were playing, which is why some of those players were kind of like mad that they took out the boomer, because they were like, the boomer's not overpowered. Like there's just so many new players that they're getting destroyed and they think it's overpowered. But so the split in the player base is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like as you say, if it's too difficult, people are probably just gonna move on. So
Unless
I'm kind of waiting for those other game modes.
unless they're good at marketing and they like, if you can market your game as like, hey, are you good enough, and like challenge people's pride, because
Hmm.
that's what like the Dark Souls games, right? Like the whole point of those games is, oh, they're hard as balls. Like that was the reputation they got, is like it's rewarding because it's hard, and are you
Hmm.
good
And then
enough to beat it? Like,
people are like, it's not that hard, and then
right.
they're like, oh, I can totally beat it.
Yeah, they fed right into the marketing, right? Because if they're
Hmm.
like, "Are you good enough? This game's really hard," and they're like, "It's not hard. I'll show you," and then like, yeah, you did exactly what they thought you would do.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, if they kind of maybe take that angle and be like, "Can you survive the zombie horde? Are you one of the elite?" Yeah. Meshyf nailed it. The Flappy Bird effect. It's like that game got popular because my best friend, the guy who's going to be my best man at my wedding,
Hmm.
he would never like we used to play games every day together, but it's not something that we actively talk about anymore. Like we don't live close to each other. We're kind of doing our own things in our own lives. I got a text message from him and he was like, "Have you played Flappy Bird?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" It was like random out of the
Flappy
blue.
Bird.
and he
What is
was
Flappy Bird?
and I was like, "What?" So I like Googled it, and sure enough, like it had become this phenomenon overnight. And so I downloaded it, and I was actually pretty decent at it. But yeah, that's the whole like, oh, it's hard, but it's rewarding. How far can you get? And everyone was posting their
Hmm.
uh
Their highest
their
score.
screenshots of their highest score online and stuff. So yeah, if they can find a clever way to do that where they can like market it or have some type of like leaderboard or be like, how are your survival instincts? Can you survive the zombies? Are you one of the elite? Like if they can maybe find a way to appeal to people's pride,
Hmm.
maybe they could have some success that way.
Yeah. So right now, I'm waiting for there to be a little bit more meat in the game, because it did like just enter early access, and they're like, they're talking like, we're gonna have like all this other stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'll see you then. Like I enjoyed the game now, but I don't want to burn myself out like right now.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I actually got a key for it. I just haven't played it yet. I got a key
It's
through
pretty fun.
key mailer.
I
Um,
think the average game length is like 10, 15 minutes, so it's not like too big of a commitment.
I'll have to check it out for sure. I think I want to take a short break, and then we have a beef, and then we'll call it a night.
All right.
But before I go, I did want to, on a more serious note, I did want to mention this because there are people who listen to this, and I wanted, to let people know to kind of get you know, raise some awareness. A good friend of mine, she's also a member of Team DLC. Her name is TheLuckCharm online. Her real name is Stephanie. I have met her multiple times. She's a wonderful person. I've met Josh as well. I had dinner with Stephanie and Josh in LA a couple months ago. good friends of mine. Josh was involved in a pretty bad car accident, and they are self-employed. They own a gym and various small businesses, and so financially, it's been pretty tough for them. I'm gonna post a link in chat. I'll also probably post this link in the description for the YouTube video or the the podcast page or whatever. But being self-employed, they don't have the same benefits of having America's all fucked up when it comes to healthcare. If you're self-employed, healthcare costs are through the roof. It's ridiculous. Whereas if you work for a corporation, it's heavily subsidized. So anything, if anyone can do anything to support them, I think, it sounds like he's going to make it through. I don't know if there's going to be any, permanent side effects or injuries or whatever. It's too early to tell, but anything you guys can do to show your support and love, even if it's just a comment, even if it's just letting them know, that you're there for them. But they do have a GoFundMe link on that Twitter post that I just linked. So, if you got a couple bucks to spare to help them, survive this hard time, I think they would really appreciate it. So, I know, generally I try and keep things upbeat here, but it's, they're awesome people. If any of you have met Stephanie or Josh, he goes by Prawn and she goes by TheLuckCharm. They're wonderful people. They've been nothing but kind and supportive and a positive influence in my life and in our team's lives. So I think, we can do what we can to support them. So we'll take a short break. We'll be back in a few. We got a hot, fresh, spicy beef for you guys. And then we'll call it a night. So see you in a few. All right. Let's do the damn thing. We're back with some hot, spicy, fresh, right off the grill beef. I feel like it's been a while. He messaged me and it was like, man, it's weird. It's been such a long time since you've done a podcast. Like, it feels new. It feels weird to make a new beef. So, some rare beef. It's that barbecue beef. What kind of beef we having tonight? Korean barbecue, Kobe beef. So I'll bring James on. We'll switch over to the media view here, and we'll do the thing. For those who don't know, Meshyf is a good friend of ours. Twitch.tv/Meshyf, MESHYF. He does a little segment on our show sometimes called Sheef's Beef, where he gives us two topics that he's not very happy about. And we decide which one is the bigger beef, which one is more annoying, more frustrating, a bigger burden on society, if you will. So we'll take a look at his two beefs and decide which one is the beefiest. Everyone can play along at home. Feel free to pause it if you want to debate your significant other about which one is the bigger beef. If you're in Twitch chat, we like seeing what you guys have to say about the topics as well. So if you're ready, James, I'm all queued up and good to go.
As am I, Jimmy.
All right. Well,
let's get it rolling.
As usual, on go. 1, 2, 3, go.
You need the beefiest of beefs, the sheefiest of sheefs. Then get yourself ready. Open up them buckles and eat some beef. It's Sheef's beef.
Welcome everyone to the ring. I'm your host Meshyf, bringing you this week's hot.
Oh, I got cut off.
And spicy beefs. Now we're going to put two contenders head to head in the ring and figure out which of the two is the absolute beefiest beef. First beef of the week is picky eaters.
Nice.
I'm going to preface this. I don't have an issue with kids. I don't have an issue with people that have dietary restrictions because they have IBS or allergies or they have religious issues or whatever. They're vegetarians.
That's quite the number of exclusions here.
There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing. What I'm talking about is grown adults that can eat whatever they want and they still can't figure this out. If you're an adult and someone goes, hey, have you ever tried sashimi? And you go, no, it's gross. I'm not going to try raw fish. Grow up. Try it. There's people eating it. There's a reason why people are eating it. Just try it. Try it one fucking time. Take one bite. You don't know. maybe you'll like it. I personally fucking hate olives, tomatoes, avocados. I know that makes me a bad Californian. Those are all things that everyone in California seems to just love. But when I order something and I say no tomatoes and the tomatoes come back, well, guess what I do? I either eat it or I pick it off. And those are the two things that you should do as an adult, okay? Don't go, oh, fuck, tomato may have grazed this burger. I can't eat it. Send it back. Make me a
Send it back.
I have met people that do that shit, and that's fucking wrong. If you are able to get food, be grateful for the shit that you got, and be an adult about it when it comes back. Wrong. Just pick it off. Just eat it. Try new foods. Don't be a picky eater. It's disgusting. Don't be a little fucking kid. Second beef of the week is YouTube Blackhole. And now you got 5 minutes to watch a video on YouTube. You just farting around, got
That
some
picture.
free time. And you start, and then you click.
Yeah, I don't think that was even TOS. That was pretty spicy.
Your whole night is gone just watching YouTube videos. The way this happens is it's scientifically engineered to do this. The algorithm will that YouTube uses, the algorithm uses watch time as the number one factor for what it's going to recommend next. So the content creators have created content that gets you to watch. Stick around to the end. Watch this. What's next? And what happens? It fucking works. And all of a sudden, your night is gone. And I'm not saying that that's like a horrible thing, but god damn, does it work? It works so well. It works so well that I will sit down to watch a movie and then, you know, maybe like wait for something to happen or whatever and pause the movie. And then you start watching a YouTube video on your phone. And then all of a sudden, that's all you're doing. You're just sharing YouTube videos with each other. And you're watching that Vine compilation for the 30th time because YouTube knows that you're going to fucking watch that Vine compilation. It is very, very good at it. And sometimes you end up in a weird part of YouTube that, you know, you're just confused about the whole thing. YouTube's black hole is making them money. It's taking up your time. And it's the second beef of the week. YouTube, you're too smart for your own fucking good. Those are the two beefs of the week. Picky eaters and the YouTube black hole. Jimmy, James, chat. I want you to tell me which of the two you think is the biggest beef of the week, which one's taking up more time, which one's bugging you the most, and we'll find out what the right answer is when we come back.
Oh, let's see. Where am I at? 349.
I'm at 347. I'll just scoot right over there.
Okay. I was actually, before we dive into these, I was actually more interested. I was trying to look at what his recommended was because I was I was trying to judge him by his
You can peek into his lifestyle by looking at his recommendations.
Exactly. We might roll back this video after we debate these topics and judge Meshyf for his recommended videos on YouTube. What do you think?
You see, it's weird because I get why Meshyf has this beef, but really only the first one I see being a problem for me specifically, compared to just like going down the YouTube rabbit hole. And the reason I have to grab with number one, which is the picky eaters, is because I'm not a very picky eater. You put any food in front of me, I'll eat it. My friends never let me live it down. That they make sure to remind me that I'm the guy that will consume most fruits skin on. You know, bananas, kiwis, oranges.
No, please tell me you won't bite into an orange with the skin and eat it.
I'll bite it like an apple, Jimmy.
No, why?
I'm just like, what a refreshing taste. It actually depends on the orange. If it's too large,
you are a Neanderthal. This is not. I'm not gonna let this stand. Make it known now that James just admitted to biting into citrus skin on. That
I
do. You're on your way to a serial killer, right? Like I'm not okay with this revelation that you just shared with us.
I know that's gonna be in the beginning of the biography. It's like I always knew something was wrong with James. And he told me he eats those oranges skin on.
Next thing you're gonna tell me that you don't towel off and you just put your clothes on wet.
Oh God, that's awful. I am like 100% dry when my clothes goes on. I don't put a sock on once.
I thought I knew you, James.
Wasn't right. All right. Anyways. So I'll eat pretty much any food that like comes in front of me. And it's because when I was younger, my mom would say, if you don't finish your dinner, you're not leaving the table. And instead of eating, I would just sit there, let the time go by, 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours. Now the food's like cold mush, and I'm like, okay, I'll eat it. And that's like horrible.
You condition yourself by eating shitty food.
But now it's like any food. I'll eat it. I have the problem of opening the fridge and eating food that's gone bad because I can't tell that it's gone bad. So like milk, I've on multiple occasions eaten milk that's expired and not even noticed until my siblings try to eat it and have told me like, did you smell this? And they're like, there's lumps in this. What? And I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't notice. So picky eaters for me, it's not that big of a deal. Although I find it funny, my siblings are very picky eaters, even though like came from the same household. So I guess for the YouTube rabbit hole, I feel Meshyf's pain because every once in a while I'll put on a YouTube video for background music and then I'll get distracted by the content. And then I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I see the recommends and I'm like, oh, that one looks good. I click it. And suddenly I'm 6 clicks down. I'm looking at how it's made episodes once again because YouTube knows if it gets me back into how it's made, I'm not leaving for at least 3 hours. So I guess if I had to choose the bigger beef, for me, it's going to be going down the rabbit hole of YouTube.
Okay. James confirmed no gag reflex. That's wife material.
You saw the photo of me with the snap filter.
That's true. I'd fuck you. Anyway, I think that picky eaters are very annoying. Especially so the reason that one might win for me, it might edge out the other one, but I do have things to say about the other one. But the restaurant example that he gave really rings true to me because I've been with people, it's embarrassing as fuck when you're with that person. And it's not just the food usually. Like if they're a picky eater, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? They're going to complain about every other little thing. Their fork has a smudge on it or what. Like those types of people are the type of people who are just not happy to be alive. And they find other, like the fact that tomatoes grazed the other part of their burger is just one of many reasons why they're unhappy. And so that might win for me only because yes, I've experienced that multiple times in my life. I have a person in my mind in particular that I wish I could talk about, but I can't, that is a victim of this where it's an extended family individual, but anytime we go to a restaurant, anytime the slightest thing goes wrong, oh, no tip, oh, got to send it back, oh, like my napkin wasn't clean, or like the food part is just one of many problems. And like anal people are anal people in general, and the food, like they've cordoned off their food on their plate, and like it is a problem, and I wholeheartedly agree, and it resonates with me. That restaurant example probably sold me on the picky eater one. However, the internet rabbit holes, because you said YouTube specifically, but I think it's a much larger problem than just YouTube. I think internet rabbit holes in general, there's a lot of smart people who have engineered human nature into internet products. There's a whole a guy that used to work for Facebook, I forget his name. He did a whole panel, like a Q&A, where he talks all about how Facebook was designed and how dangerous it is for society, as far as just like, when they realized, oh, when you have a like button, what that does to people, and just like everything about all of these things online that we use are designed to manipulate you in one way or another, whether it's to keep watching or to agree or to follow or to spend your money. it's pretty, it's especially when you work in that industry, it's pretty alarming what you start to realize about how all this stuff works and how it's all designed. It's kind of frightening. So I don't know, like as far as a larger societal problem, especially when you've got entire nations trying to manipulate other nations through those same tools, I feel like the rabbit hole of the internet in general is very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So like I look at the YouTube rabbit hole that you're talking about, but I take a step back and look at like all of it. You took that way further than I did. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's just an archetype of a much larger problem. Because it's true of Facebook, it's true of Instagram. Like, I know people who spend a good portion of their day just swiping through Instagram at all of the social media influencers and all of the like bullshit that like it's crazy. And it's all a rabbit hole. Like, it's so easy to just not stop. You just keep swiping. Now, I will give Instagram credit because they do one thing. They do one thing where they draw that line across. I don't know if anyone uses Instagram enough to recognize this, but if you swipe long enough, they draw a line across the screen and it says you're all caught up. Like, if you actually scroll to where your Instagram was previously, it'll tell you you're all caught up. Like, hey, you got to the point in your feed where everything after this you've already seen before.
We're gonna stop you right there, buddy. You've gone past this point.
No, they don't stop you from continuing to scroll, but there's a little line. They draw a line across the screen and say you're all caught up. Good for you. So even that's kind of like, then it's like, it's almost like that's
I have a problem.
Well, no, that's the new achievement. So the next time you get on Instagram, you got to scroll until you hit that line that tells you you're all caught up. Until you hit that line, you haven't seen everything yet.
Oh, you're right.
Right? That's the new that's the new benchmark. Same with
I haven't seen everything because Instagram didn't tell me I did.
Yeah, same with Reddit, especially if you have Reddit Enhancement Suite installed, because Reddit Enhancement Suite automatically loads the next page when you hit the bottom of your current page. The default Reddit, the old theme doesn't do that. You had to click next page. You had to click a button that would take you to the next page, so it was less of a rabbit hole, I noticed. Like when I'm on a browser, when I'm on someone else's computer, or I'm at work or whatever, and I browse Reddit and I get to the bottom of the page and there's that button, there's a conscious choice there. Oh, okay, I should stop looking at this and go do something else. But when you have the auto scroll feature turned on, yeah, it's dangerous. It's real dangerous.
Like, it's bad. I know in my own experience, the only time I stop looking at Reddit is when I hit next. It says, "Oh, there's nothing there," and I'm like, "Oh, guess I have seen everything Reddit has to offer." And so, that's when I'm like, "Okay, I've looked at enough." It's time when Reddit bugs out and doesn't load the next page, that's when I know I should stop.
Yeah. No, but I mean, bringing it back to the original argument that Meshyf is making, even if I just keep it to the YouTube one. He's right, man. There's times when I'm watching a video and that sidebar, that shit is straight poison. Cause like I'm halfway through the video, and we talked about attention span of people these days, right? Like I'm halfway through the video, so in my mind I'm like, okay, I get it. I know what this video is about. I can watch the rest, but not really. Like I know where this is headed.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched enough videos to know what the conclusion of this video is going to be. And so I start my eyes just start drifting over to the right side of the screen. And I see that one video that's like, it's either part 2 of the video I'm watching, or it's the same, like, whoever the main person is in the video I'm watching, it's like another video with them, or an interview with them, or a response to the video I'm watching. It's all so incredibly relevant to what I'm watching that I'm like, oh, I gotta see that. It's like, I'm not fully educated unless I click on that one, to the point where I'm so bad sometimes, like if I'm in the right frame of mind, where I'll be watching a video and I'll see the sidebar and there's like 3 videos in the sidebar that I think, okay, I need to watch those 3. So instead of just clicking on one, because I don't want to lose that sidebar,
Oh.
I will actually load. I will either control click or middle click, whatever, you know. But for those who don't know, if you hold control and click a link, it opens it in a new tab. Or you can also click with your scroll wheel if you middle click. So I will actually start opening the sidebar videos in new tabs, just so I don't lose the original list of sidebar videos. And then, Meshyf said that's multiple sidebar videos. Because
Luckily, I'm not that bad.
Well, no, because there's been times where I'll click on a video in the sidebar and then I'll watch that and I'll be like, oh, but there was that other video in the sidebar from the last video I wanted to watch too. So I'll like go back and try and find it. And I've trained myself to basically be like, no, I'm going to keep this original video with the original sidebar and I'm just going to load those in a new tab so I don't lose the original shit that I want to go back and possibly look at. Like there's multiple branches to my.
Me, I'm just like, I'm following one path, but you're over here like one video splits into 3, and then it's like it just keeps going. It's multiplying as you go down.
No, I've got black holes inside of black holes.
Man, like the most I've ever done was the most recent one was when I was watching Game of Thrones, not recap, but it's like they come out right after the episode and they're discussing it. I'm like, oh, like I enjoy what I'm listening to. And then I see on the sidebar, it's like Game of Thrones this. And I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. Click it. And then it's like Game of Thrones that. And I'm like, oh, that looks good. And then it just keeps going. And all of a sudden I'm yelling at the screen to tell me who's the strongest character in the Game of Thrones universe. Because that's the clickbait title. It's crazy.
The other one that's gotten me recently is God damn it, I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but it's happened recently. When I got my new phone, it has this like thing where if I swipe right, or if I swipe right, there's like this news feed. And in the news feed, there's these goddamn articles that are like, you won't believe XYZ, and they're the most clickbait titles I've ever read. And I'll click on one because I'm like, oh, I want to see what it is. And then it takes me into this fucking page where it's like one picture and I got to click next like 20 times to get to what I actually, dude.
Those sites are terrible,
dude. And like, it took me a couple times before I was like, I can't believe I fell for this shit again. Like I get mad at myself because of the black holes that I fall into, that I'm like, how am I this predictable? Like, how are they that good at tripping that part of my brain that says you have to see this, keep clicking? Like, it's frustrating.
It's the titles.
It's so frustrating.
And you know why they do it, right? It's because by
multiple pages is ads. They're getting
it's more and more ads.
Yeah,
it's like, I am but a sheep for this company's ad revenue.
It's all ad revenue. It's
revenue all the way down. Especially when you've like clicked through their 20 like slideshow and all around it is just ads. So you've probably seen you saw all 20 images and probably like 150 ads just all on each page.
And it makes me feel gross as a person because like then I get to the point where I'm like mad at myself for falling for it. Like I just feel disgusted. I'm like, God damn it. Like there's no reason for me to care about this at all. And I can't believe I spent 20 minutes clicking through multiple pages of ads for some shitty payoff that has no effect on my life whatsoever. It's infuriating.
It's why I forget the name of the subreddit, but it's quite literally people find those clickbait articles and someone takes one for the team.
Goes to the end
article for the answer. And then they post it. So it says the clickbait title. So it's like, you won't believe what Michael Phelps does to train for the Olympics. And then it's semicolon. Sometimes it says they never talk about it in the article, or they just put what the answer is. And then you click on it, you look at the comment, and it's from the dude saying it was 44 slides to get to the answer. And you commend that guy for taking the fall for us. And then everyone does it, so everyone can see okay, is this article purely clickbait, or does it actually have something worth looking at? And if it's worth looking at, this guy already got it for us.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send me that link. I want to know about that subreddit.
Oh, I'll find it.
There's a lot of stuff I need to know about. She said, clicks on article 10 most insane bridges in Arkansas. I don't care about Arkansas, but I want to see those bridges.
It's just that's why clickbait's so effective, because you don't care about whatever it's about, but the way they phrase it, you're like, insane bridges, the top 10 in Arkansas. Like, oh, this clearly requires some attention.
Yeah. So I don't know how I always do this. I think I might be the only person in the world who's capable of straw manning themselves. Because like you give me a topic and I go so much deeper for no reason. But like when you talked about the black hole of like, or the rabbit hole or whatever, all I can think about is how much larger of a problem it is than the specific. Like YouTube is definitely, I'm guilty of it, as we have learned this evening. I have black holes within black holes, but like it's a big ass problem in general how good they are at anticipating human nature across the internet. To the point where
Sheef and I are over here just playing checkers with our ideas, and you're over there big brain 4D chess. Just like the global conspiracy, and like they're gonna control us at this rate.
I mean, it's such a problem that's why in Europe they passed that law, dude. Like that every website now has to notify you of cookies, of any information that's being gathered about you to alter your experience. They have to notify you. And it's a European law, but pretty much every website has adapted to it because
there's no reason not to.
Right. Because
like we already did it for Europe, might as well bring it over here.
Exactly.
Like we don't have to do it, but since we already did, might as well.
But that's why they did that, because it's that divisive. It's, you know, every website you go to, they're gathering cookies and they're gathering information that they're sharing with all the other sites that you go to. That's why you go to Amazon and look for a fucking backpack, and then you get on Facebook and it's like, hey, check out this backpack. Not only is it a backpack, but it's a backpack for the Marvel movie that you wrote a review on for Rotten Tomatoes last week. Like,
I'm weak to those advertisements.
Dude, it's
the one time I go on Facebook, they advertise a hoodie for a particular movie that I'm a big fan of. And, you know, it was a pretty good film from my childhood, so I just had to go and buy the hoodie.
I was actually going to ask you about the hoodie because I saw the sleeves. Those are cool. I like it.
It's actually a super, like...
That's Spirited Away, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can tell by the top of his head with the eyes.
The print quality is actually, like, amazing. But I know I would not have bought it otherwise. But because Facebook was like, hey, we have all these cool looking hoodies. You want one? And I was like, I need a hoodie. How did you know?
And then when you go to bed that night, you're like, God damn it, the algorithm won.
It did. I was weak. Because it's like, I won't buy a hoodie. But if you put like... If you make the design look this cool and then plaster No Face on it, it's like, how can I not buy it?
Exactly. So I think I may have convinced myself that the internet black hole might be the bigger beef for me, just because I feel like it has real world ramifications. Also, here's one. Hopefully I'll ruin at least one person's life right now with this one. Because it's gotten me so many times that other people must feel my pain. I don't know if anyone spent any time on TV tropes. But if you haven't, and you're at all interested in tropes, or whether they're TV or movie related, and if you don't know what a trope is, those are like they're the generic mechanics that are used over and over again in TV and film, and you're like, wait, I've seen this same type of plot device or trope before.
I've been there before.
Like, for example, there's the one where they compare Avatar to Pocahontas to Ferngully to... They all have the same thing where guy... ends up, guy tries to destroy culture, then guy becomes assimilated into culture, changes his mind, and defends culture, right? That's a very common one. And a lot of those tropes are reused over and over again. And there's a TV Tropes is a website. They've created a database of those narrative tools and those tropes and those mechanics that are used in TV shows and movies. And the problem is, not only do they have the tropes, but they have the movies that use those tropes. But then when you click on a movie, it also lists all the other tropes that that movie uses. And you can click on one of those and see all the movies that that trope uses. It is the worst. I've spent like whole afternoons on TV Tropes.
It's bad. Because you read, because especially how they're named too.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, what? You're like, oh, what is like Asian colored hair? What is that? Because that one is actually a more recent conversation I had where I was talking to my friend Lydia, and we both noticed, like, in American media, like, if there is an Asian girl that's like the sidekick to the main character, they usually either have a dyed hair, like a dyed color of strip of hair, or they have dyed hair, like in general. So I was like, huh, like, yeah, I noticed that too. I wonder why that is. So I look it up, and it's like, well, because they want to portray this idea of the rebellious Asian girl, that's why they dye the hair, to give you this idea behind it. And I was like, wait a minute, they're right. And they had all the examples from like a ton of shows. And I was like, wait a minute, they're right.
Yep.
It happened every time.
Yeah. I had to stop, like, I had to stop going to that site because a movie would come out and I'd be like, I swear I've seen this same plot line before. And I'll go on there, and sure enough, there's like a list of all the other, and then I'll like be like, oh, what about, that trope? Okay. It's bad to the point where I just pulled up the website, their catchphrase. If you go to the website, it says TV Tropes, the all-devouring pop culture wiki. They know that you could spend the rest of your life on there just clicking on down the rabbit hole of tropes and shows and tropes and shows and tropes. It's real bad. And Nuclear Goo says, but you're learning. That's how they get you, right?
It's for next week's trivia night. You know, all these tropes.
Exactly. It's dangerous. Stay away. Or don't. Please report. If you do go to TV Tropes and spend an afternoon learning about all this bullshit, I want to know about it. Let me know. Send us an email. Let us know about what tropes you learned this week. The Sopranos and Sex and the City are the same show. Ooh, interesting. I'd like to look into this. Maybe I'll spend the rest of my night on TV Tropes. Thanks a lot, Meshyf. So, picky eaters are annoying, but I feel like internet black holes are probably, for me personally, a much larger problem.
Quite understandable. You've defended and articulated your point quite well.
I see. Well, here, to prove my point, I just went down a big ass rabbit hole. Just now, we spiraled down into the rabbit hole of discussing rabbit holes. So, that should say something about the nature of the internet, I guess. So I'm gonna go with rabbit holes.
Same here.
Dang, beat me to it. I did. I'm self-aware enough to realize what I just did to myself. All right. I'm at 349.
Yeah, same here.
Let me switch back to my media view. All right. On go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Welcome back to the ring. Let's find out. Did you get it right? Our biggest beef of the week is picky.
Boo!
I can't say I'm surprised, but
Now,
after
the
such
YouTube
a
Blackhole has a special place in my heart
charged
because I've
argument,
lost
Jimmy,
very
it's
many
like,
nights.
Picky
to
Eaters
YouTube,
doesn't really
and it
stand
just-
up.
I'll never get back. I don't know where they went. I don't know what I watched. I don't know what happened. It's just gone. But Picky Eaters is something that's really fucking irritating because you're sitting down for a meal and everyone had to plan around the picky eater. Oh, we can't go
That's
here.
true.
They don't like that. They can't find anything they like here. Or, we made
Especially
a
in a
special dinner
workplace,
for
that shit gets
so-and-so
annoying.
because
I didn't
they
think
won't
about that.
eat steak, or they don't like turkey. Like, get over yourself. Try new things as an adult. Try sashimi. Go out there and try tripe. Go have a burrito with pig tongue in it or something. Like, I don't know. Try it. What's the worst that could happen? If someone somewhere else is eating it, chances are there's a reason, and you need to give it a shot. And if you're a picky eater and you're going out to dinner with your friends, or someone's going on a lunch run for you, you can't be. Sorry, you got to bring your own fucking food. Picky eaters, you're the biggest beef of the week.
All right, well, fuck you, Meshyf. No, I love you. I appreciate your beefs every week. They're always fun. They're always thought provoking. I just went a little hard on rabbit holes, but I can definitely see what you're saying. I didn't think about the whole angle of group eating, because that definitely is an issue. It's frustrating as fuck when it's like you really want to go to this really good restaurant, but they don't have a vegan option or whatever, and so everyone's like, "Oh, but Tony can't eat there. We got to go somewhere else." So that I could definitely see that frustration. That's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get sushi sometime, dude. When are you gonna come hang out? You need to head north and come chill with me. Once the baby situation settles down for you, Meshyf, you should come. There's a couple really good sushi places up here. I'll take you to. I'm all about it. Let's do it. Definitely, he says. Good. Let's do it. The baby likes sushi. I'm pretty sure there are specific like guidelines against that very thing.
Like, do not feed your child raw fish.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that falls under like the honey category. Like, don't give them honey either.
Or what's the other one? Strawberries. Like babies aren't supposed to eat strawberries before a certain number of months or something. I don't know.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Babies are weak.
Pretty sure my parents fed me all kinds of shit and I was fine. So also, I'm all kinds of vaccinated. I'm not retarded. Can I say that? That's probably not okay. I'm just saying. I mean, you know, my parents didn't even have to sit in car seats. Their parents held them on their laps. Or they're like, car seats? What the fuck's that? That shit out of here.
Safety standards. Those haven't been defined yet.
Puts hair on your chest. A little car accident. Builds character. Anyway, I'm glad we did this. We needed to get back into the podcast. But Meshyf, just so you know, I'm gonna set up a call at some point with me, you, James, and our good friend Gator Pete, who is our new kind of content editor. He's helping us behind the scenes a little bit. I have some ideas for the podcast that I want to brainstorm with you guys, so I'm kind of excited about. And we're going to keep this thing going. I'm not giving up on the podcast. I know we took a hiatus. There's a lot going on in our personal lives. Meshyf just had a baby. James just finished finals. I'm planning a wedding. Gator Pete just went through a divorce and is probably going to be moving and selling his house in the next, month or so. So like we're all just crazy busy, but things should calm down, and we've got some ideas in the works. We've got some things coming up, and we're excited for the future. So please stay tuned. Make sure you follow. Make sure you check out hitthebucket.com, and we'll be back. We're going to keep doing this shit one way or another. The boat will move forward. We'll try and avoid icebergs at all costs. Everything will calm down just in time for the holiday. Exactly. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, by later this year, once I'm married, once your kid's sleeping through the night, once James is back to his normal schedule and Gator Pete's house is sold, like, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of years, I feel like, for everyone. So
Stuff happens.
it's like life is a thing or something. But anyway, thank you all for being here. We'll see if anyone's on right now. We'll go throw a raid at someone. And love you guys. Thanks for being supportive. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for participating. And if you're out there in podcast land, come check us out on Twitch. I stream outside of just the podcast. I do stream occasionally. James28 also streams on Twitch. Meshyf is a streamer. We're all doing that thing. We're all trying to make it happen. James has a YouTube channel with lots of, even though he's been slacking, he's got all the free time in the world. I'm calling him out right now.
I know.
Get some videos up, bro.
I know. I keep making excuses, but it's like I'm not doing anything otherwise.
Oh, wait. Pause the music. We're not ending this podcast yet. I have a question for you, sir. I completely forgot. I was like, I'm going to ask James. I'm going to put him on the spot. What's up with this girl shit, dude? I saw your tweet.
Oh, that tweet. I see. Well, I do have a girlfriend once again.
What? I wish I had an air horn button on my computer. There you go.
But yeah, so if you saw the tweet, you were also aware.
I saw a girl in the comment.
I left her in Vermont as I went to California.
So no, I saw you say something about, it sucks right when you're about to leave, you find out that this girl's crushing on you or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And then was it the girl in the comments? Is that the one? Because she was like,
oh no.
Oh, okay. Because there was a girl in the comments.
I don't think she knows my Twitter. I don't think I want to tell her. But no.
She has to accept you for you.
Not if I never tell her. The internet, James, is an entirely different beast.
Hey, you know what? If she can't accept you at your worst, she doesn't deserve you at your best.
Oh, that's not even my worst. That's just my weird. You gotta ease them into that. Like I already told her, I was like, I was helping my friend today with a podcast. And then she was like, oh, that's nice. I was like, okay, now I'll sprinkle in I think this is we're in the 30s for these now. So he does this kind of stuff regularly. I see. And then I'll drop so I also do stuff on YouTube and Twitch and all this other stuff. You gotta ease them into it.
No way, dude. Just throw it at them.
It's so this is Poggers. This is a Kappa. This is Monka S.
How many times have you had to catch yourself saying Kappa in person?
So many times. It's really bad. When you spend that much time as I do on Twitch, you have to make a note, do not say Kappa, Monka S, PogChamp, Poggers in person. Because the whole point is because, it's text, so you can't relay facial expression. So it's James, you don't need to say Kappa. You know how to speak sarcastically.
Dude, I was going to say, I can't remember how many times when we were in San Jose that I heard you say Monka S out loud.
That's the worst one for me, honestly.
I know. I've heard you say it so many times. I've never heard somebody verbalize Monka S as much as you. So I can only imagine if you're dating someone and something awkward or something I know in your mind, you're just trying so hard. Your brain is saying Monka S, Monka S, Monka S, Monka S. And you're just no.
It's you can't say it. Just use your face, James. You have facial expressions. That's what. Just make the Monka S face.
That is hilarious. So when do I meet her?
I don't know. Whenever she decides to come down to California, I guess. She is stuck in Vermont because she's taking summer classes, but
where's she from?
I don't know. She's from New Jersey.
Oof. It's the other side of the country, dude.
Yeah, it kind of happens when you go to school on the other side of the country. But you deal with it.
All these long distance relationships, James.
Yeah, I don't know what I keep getting myself into. Luckily, I know how to deal with them, though. So it's not oh, man, I'm so heartbroken. I'll never see her. It's just no, I know how it is in a long distance relationship.
I know how to deal with them, a.k.a. I know how to send nudes.
See, now you're talking.
All right. Well, I'm happy for you, man. That's awesome. So she's a student at the same school as you, I'm guessing. That's how you met?
Yes.
Cool. What's her major?
She is a burrito. She is a what does she do?
Oh, I tried so hard not to make a Mexican joke, but literally you just looked to the side of the screen and said, "Oh, a burrito."
Yeah.
How can I not point that out?
Just comes right to me.
So anyway, what's her major?
I believe she does art, but like she's with a concentration like of game art, because my school has like a pretty big game like program type thing.
And they say, I review games. I got 30 keys in my inbox just waiting for me. Does that turn you on, baby? Look at all my keys.
I work in the industry.
My good friend, he does pixel art. By the way, I took his course.
Oh, you did, Ben's?
Yeah.
He does good stuff.
Yeah, Ben. I'm forgetting his online name at the moment.
Heartbeast.
You Heartbeast, yeah.
You Heartbeast. Mm-hmm.
I've snuck in on a couple of his streams. We should have him on again. He was a good dude.
Yeah, maybe when he gets close to releasing his new game.
True. All right. Well, that was it. I mean, I meant to end by now, but that question was one that was on my list that I absolutely had to ask you about. So it's official, huh? You gotta.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When can we have her as a guest on the podcast?
Never.
I'm still trying to get Lady Navio to come on this shit, dude. Every week I'm like, so you gonna come on? We interview you? I understand. It's an uphill battle. Us internet folk and our lady counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Gator Pete, then you're just like, I'm gonna go ahead and date a streamer. But
Twitch is not a dating site, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Looks to all the people that found their significant
exactly
Twitch.
Yeah, that's only partially true. It's a nerd meat market. All right, let's go. Let's end this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done putting you on the spot now. Let's. Who's on? Let's see. If anyone has any suggestions, otherwise I'm gonna look. First, I'm gonna look at our team. Who's on? Is anyone from our team on right now? Battle Athlete's on. What's he playing? He's playing Sonic All-Star Racing. Ooh. It might be fun. Let's see who else is on. Overwatch League is going on. Pay Money Wubby's on right now. I meant to talk about him tonight because he just had a whole shindig that he went through. Ooh, Cobalt Streak is doing his Nerd versus Nature. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but he did a Kickstarter. Him and Richard Hammer are spending 6 days in the wild, and they're streaming the whole thing. And they're starting with nothing. They're essentially like they have to build their own shelter, make their own fires. It's like a continuous stream of them trying to survive. So we could check that out. And Cobalt's Richard Hammer is much more like hands-on, outdoorsy fisherman kind of nature guy, and Cobalt Streak is he's the most domesticated. He's married with a kid, and it's just like, even after the first day, he was like, I didn't think it would be this hard. He's struggling, but it looks like it's just darkness right now. I don't know. Let's go check it out. Let's go. I feel like checking that out. I'm probably gonna watch that for a little while before I go to bed. So let's just pop in there. Check out some Cobalt Nerd versus Nature. Thank you all for being here. Please hit us up at hitthebucket.com. Reach out to us at hitthebucketpodcast@gmail.com. I know I'm sitting on a couple episodes now that I need to edit and get uploaded. Sorry, I've just been really busy, but we're going to get back into it and look forward to lots of cool stuff in the future. Good night, everyone. Have a good rest of your week. Is Memorial Day? Is that the one that's coming up?
I believe so, yeah, this Monday.
Yeah, 3-day weekend. Party. All right. Love you guys. Have a good night.
Now to chow down on this burrito.
Oh, shit. It's burrito.
Now to chow down on this burrito.
Can you not roll your R's, James?
Not well.
I'm disappointed in you.